Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for attending another session of the Chief Architect training. My name is Drew Stayrook, and I will be doing the webinar today for everyone. Today we're going to be going over how to use the Chief or the Ritz-Craft library. I know there's probably some stuff in there that people have tried to use and they just don't know what it does or how to make it work. So I'm going to try to give you a more real world lesson here as far as trying to get done what you want to get done. So let's get started. Now, for those of you who are new, there's if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask a question, and you can do that by typing in the there should be a little questions box in there. You can type it in and send it, and I'll answer it the best I can. If I don't have the answer, I'll get it for you and let you know what I come up with. Okay, so first off, I recently updated the library, and if we go to the Ritz-Craft website, go to the Builder Logins area, and every one of you should have a Builder login and password. If not, you can get with Sean, and he can get you set up with that. Okay, so I'm going to log in, click on to agree to the terms and conditions. And looks like oh, there we go. Okay, so once you're in here, under the main, I'm going to click on Chief Architect. Click on All, and All again. In here are the new libraries with all the updated colors. Now, this particular library is it's Ritz-Craft wide, but there are some colors for Michigan and North Carolina that are not in here, or there may be colors in here that Michigan and North Carolina do not offer. I am currently working on those two, and I will have a separate library for each each division, for one for North Carolina, one for Michigan, and one for PA. And when I finish those, they will all be labeled as such, so you'll know which one you need. Now, you can download them all if you want, or just the Pennsylvania one. If you're Pennsylvania, that's fine. Doesn't, it's entirely up to you. Here are the instructions also for downloading them, and then there's also templates that I've created. And they're really useful, convenient, because in there are the different roof pitches with the correct collar tie heights and knee wall locations if they're capes and whatnot. And it just has a lot of default settings that are already set up for you that you don't have to bother with yourself. So having said that, to download this, you just click on it, and it'll ask you to download it to your screen. Now, I'm not going to download it now, just don't want to take the time to do it. But what's going to happen is you can you want to save it, and either save it to your desktop or in your documents or wherever that you, somewhere you'll be able to find it that you can delete it later, because you don't really need it after you install it into Chief. Or yeah. So what's going to happen is it's going to download, and I have it right here. It's going to download as a zip file. Then what you want to do is right-click on it, and depending on what version of Windows you have, it'll be an extract all or something similar to that effect. So you click on extract all, and then you'll browse again to the location you want and then say extract, which again I'm not going to do it because I already have it extracted. Now once you have it extracted, right here it is. So it went from a zip folder to the actual file itself. Okay, once you have the file, you can go open Chief, go to Library, Import Library, and then you want to browse to where you have it saved, which is mine, is in my documents, and right there it is, x4library.calb. You click on that, you'll say open, which I'm not going to do because I already have mine in, and then it'll install it in Chief for you. And if I open up my library browser, here is my X4 library. Now, if you have an older version of a Chief library, go ahead and take that folder, and you can right-click on it, and no, you can't right-click on it. what you can do is just grab the folder and drag it into the trash bin. Now, I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to do that. But then that'll get rid of the old library, so you know you have the newest, latest version. Okay, so are there any questions on how to download that and then move it into your move it into the right spot? This particular version of the library is not compatible with any older versions. So in other words, if you have X1, 2, or 3, this is not going to work for it. There are still, if we go back to the Ritz-Craft website, there are still the older versions. There's the X1, the X2, and the X3s. Now just keep in mind that you can see the dates on these. These are not going to be the most current. They're not going to be the most up-to-date. I am leaving them in there, however, for people that have the older versions of Chief. So unfortunately, the new library does not work with the older versions. Okay, let's get back. Now, once you have it installed, you can see that there's quite a few folders in here. I added a lot of stuff. I rearranged it a little bit, tried to make it a little more user-friendly, a little easier to find stuff. Excuse me. So let's just go ahead and start with the first area, which is bath tiles. Now, I do want to start out by saying that as I was preparing for this training session, I did find an error. So if there's any of you that happen to download the X4 before today, you'll need to move it to your trash bin and reinstall it. But give me till the end of the day to get it, the new one back up on the website. Now I'll show you exactly what what I missed, and it was something to do with these bath tiles. Okay, let's say we have a. I'm going to close my library down here so I can get some room to draw. And I'm just going to put a wall in here. I'm going to draw a quick little bathroom. I'm going to go to tubs and showers. I'm going to put a shower pan in. I'm going to call this a bath. So it gives me the right flooring that I want to start with. And we'll put a wall next to our walk-in shower. Let's say this is going to be a tile shower. And I can also bring my 60-inch door in. And we're just going to bump it. You may have to hit, see how it only wants to go so far? If you hold control down while you're moving it, you can move it in any direction. So I'm just going to move it in here about where I want. I'll use my centering tool to get it centered on the shower, and then I can pull it out here flush with the front or thereabouts. Then open it up and make sure it's right height off the bottom. I know that should be 4 inches, so we'll just go there. Okay, so if we do a camera shot of this, I can see that I have my shower pan, my shower door, but I want to put, say I want to put ceramic tile on the walls. Well, if I try to put it on the wall now, it's going to do the entire bathroom. What I need to do is I need to define this as its own little space. So an easy way to do that is we'll start with the wall and we'll use an invisible wall. And I'll just start it here, zoom in a little bit, I'll grab it and bump it against the shower base, and then just extend it over to the wall itself. And you can see it. Because this room already had the label bath, it automatically makes this one also. If I had not labeled this one first, I simply select in this area, and you can see first I get interior fixture. You can see down here. If I hit tab, it cycles to room. I can then open it up and label it bath. Now while I'm in here, I want to put tile on the walls. Okay? If I were to open up my library and let's say I want a 12 by 12, and we'll just pick russet. Make sure components checked. If I select that wall now, it'll do the entire room, but it does it from floor to ceiling. Well, maybe I don't. Maybe I do want tiles floor to ceiling. Maybe I don't. If I don't, I'm going to undo that. Go back to our floor plan. I'll select in the bath area. Hit tab to get the room. Open it up. While I'm here, I'm also going to uncheck room type because I don't need to see two bathroom labels. But what I can do is I can go to wall covering. And this will allow me to put a material on the wall. We'll go to add new. And let's make our window a little bigger so we can see what's going on. Click on the user library. The X4 library. Bath tiles, 12 by 12. And let's pick the russet again. Say OK. Now there's a couple settings in here we need to change, but I want to show you what it'll do by default first. So we'll swap views. There's our wall covering, but it only gave us a little strip. Okay, well if we open this back up, select in the room, I got the fixture. Hit tab to get the room. I'll open it up, and you can see right here it's telling me my floor to bottom height is 35 5/8, and my height is only 8. That's why it only gave me an 8-inch high band around the entire room. Let's just say 80, and our floor to bottom is 0 because we want it to start from the floor up. Say OK, swap views, and there is our ceramic tile shower in the room. Okay, we can do the same. Any questions on that little part of it? Okay, let's move on. Go back to my floor plan. Excuse me. The next one is, so that's pretty much our 12 by 12 tiles. They're going to be wall tiles. The 6 by 6 are going to be for like tile decks and whatnot. So I'm going to go to our tub showers, and let's just bring in this corner tub that has tile, and we'll place it in the corner. We're going to have to rotate it. And we'll go back to our camera. And this is where we can place our top wall, or our 6 by 6 tiles on. And let's just pick slate blue. Say OK, and there's our slate blue tiles on our tub deck. Pretty straightforward there. Now this is where I had a minor issue. I found that under my countertop backsplashes, under the 6 by 6, I had the same 6 by 6 here as here. So again, wait till tomorrow to if you want to download the new X4 library. I'll have this fixed before the end of the day. Okay, so any questions on the bath tiles? They're pretty straightforward. I just wanted to show you how to be able to place it in this room without being it in the entire room or the entire bathroom. Okay, here's an interesting question. Can a backsplash be added to the tub? Yes, it can. It's going to require a little bit of manual drawing, which is fine. What I like to do in this case is I'll go to my orthographic view tool camera, and I'll use a back clip cross section. And I'll start off the wall a little bit. I'll left click, hold, and drag it past the wall and release. Now you can see I get a nice little cross section. There's my tub and my wall. And you can see this little white line, that should be the top of my tile deck. What I can do now is go to my primitive tools, go to the polyline solid, and I'm just going to make a rectangle. I can now open this up by double clicking on it, and my tile's probably 3/8 thick or whatever the case may be. Say OK, and I just happen to get lucky. It's already 6 inches tall, or maybe we want 4 inches. So let's try 4 inches. Say OK, And now I can drag it down and hopefully bump it against the wall. You can see this should be the top of the tile deck. Just drag it down a little bit more. And sometimes you may have to use your control so it doesn't want to snap. So I'm just going to get it close. And now we can bump it against the wall again. Grab this end, drag it out. This looks like this is the edge of the tub here. And let's go back to our camera view and see what we have. Okay, there's our backsplash. We can now use our backsplashes, which I made at 4x4, so I'm going to use 4x4. Double click on this, close my library down, and now apply it to the material. Okay, so that's fairly simple. Once we have the first one drawn, I can go to plan view. I can pick on it here. Now I got the tub, so I'll hit tab. Now I have my polyline solid, so I can tell because it tells me down here, the bottom left. I can just make a copy of this, and it'll just pull it away. Don't click on it. Just grab and pick and drag it. I can now select it. Use my rotate handle to rotate it around. And I can zoom in a little bit here so I can see what's going on. I can use my point-to-point move. Pick this point, upper left, and bottom left. So there's my second one. I can also select it and take it back to the tub so it's flush with the tub. Same over here. So let's look to see what we got. Okay, there's our backsplash around the tub. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, let's move on. We pretty much covered bath towels. 12 by 12, 6 by 6. Let's go and work on the kitchen stuff. We'll do the cabinets. I'll show you how to apply beadboard. This is something new. And I'll show you how to do the backsplashes and the decorative backsplashes. I'm going to close this camera view down. And we'll come over here and I'll put just a simple couple cabinets in for a excuse me, a simple kitchen. Maybe throw a couple overheads in. Oops. And for those of you who don't know, if you grab your overhead cabinet, your wall cabinet, and if you push it far enough into the corner, it automatically turns to a corner cabinet. Okay? So for those of you who were not aware of that, and I'm not going to worry about sizes, just want to demonstrate what we can do with the top, with the backsplashes and whatnot. Now let's get a picture of this. Now, as you can see, these overheads have Cove molding on them already. I made that a part of the defaults. If I click on my base cabinet, double click on my wall cabinet symbol, that brings up my wall cabinet defaults. And by default, every cabinet, overhead cabinet that comes in is going to have Cove molding. If you don't want that, you can just come in here and delete this, and then every cabinet you put in won't have it. I figure it's easier to take them off than it is to put them on. So that was my thought process. So and now it's not, by all means, it's not a standard option that we offer. It's or it's not a standard option. It's an optional option, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So just keep that in mind. Back to the library. We have base cabinets. Now, the cabinets that are in here are cabinets that if you brought it in from Chief, you would have to modify it. In other words, let's take a, let's say I was going to bring in a standard cabinet and I wanted this to be a 32-inch high vanity. Well, if I just change that to 32-inch high, that's all fine and dandy, but it still has a drawer. Our vanities do not have drawer bases. So that is why, like the bathroom here, you can see I have a cabinet that doesn't have a drawer. Is it a matter, now all it is a matter of just, close my library, opening this up and deleting the drawer. Okay, same thing. So all I did was I did that and I added that cabinet to the library. So basically what I'm trying to say is not every single cabinet is in here. A lot of the cabinets you can bring in from Chief and just stretch it to the size that you want, which is the simplest way. The only ones that I have in here are ones that you're going to have to do a lot of modifying. Okay? So hopefully that explains that a little bit. First option here is Beadboard. This is something new I added for the X4. And let's show you how to do that. We'll go ahead and get rid of that vanity base. And I'll just copy this one back over. And there's a lot of editing and stuff you can do in 3D. You don't always have to be in plan view to do it, for those of you that are not aware of that. I'm going to show you how to put it on the end of the cabinet, and I'm also going to show you how to put it on, let's say we had a raised bar here. And I don't want an exterior wall, I want an interior wall. And let's draw it this way instead. Say we have a couple cabinets here. And I'll do my back clip cross section so I can select my wall and I can make it raised bar height, which I know from experience is 43 inches wall height. Okay, so we have two different scenarios here where we might want beadboard. If this was an island especially, we maybe want it on the end of the end of the cabinet. Well, if I come in here and I just try to select my beadboard, and I'll have components selected, if I select it, it's going to do the entire cabinet, or at least the entire face of the cabinet. Well, I just want the end. Okay, so how do we do that? We double click on this cabinet to open it up. You can see there is a sides and back tab. Now I know this would be the left side, so I want to say left side, and we'll pull the drop down, and let's say paneled, and let's also say full size. Okay? Now what that did is it added a little panel here, so that when I come to my library, and let's use a cherry spice. Oops. Make sure component is selected. Now I can pick, and it just changes the end panel. Okay? Let's say I wanted to do this wall. Unfortunately, I cannot use my eyedropper, and even though I have components selected and pick this wall, because what's going to happen is, now that did work there, but normally you can see how there's no base molding around this wall. More than likely, you're going to have an invisible wall going from here to here and maybe here to here, so that you can define this space as kitchen. And let's go ahead and do that. So what's going to happen when I try to apply it just to this wall surface, it's going to want to apply it to the whole room. Okay, see what happens there? When I attach this wall to the other to define the space, it wants to do the entire room. And you can also see by attaching the wall, my base molding applies. For those of you wondering, maybe you have this situation and you don't get your base molding, well, that's what you have to do. You have to connect that wall to another wall in one way or another. So to avoid this problem, I'll go ahead and undo. What we need to do is we need to open up this wall individually. And we do that by double clicking on the wall. And we'll go to the Materials tab. Under the exterior wall surface, since I already have this beadboard material in my plan, I don't have to go to the library and try to find it in the library. I can just go to the plan material, and I know it's cherry spice, so we'll browse down to our cherry. There's our cherry spice beadboard. Say OK, and I'll repeat the process for the interior. Plan, Cherry Spice Beadboard, say OK, and OK. So there, it just applied it to the wall itself and not the entire room. Okay, any questions on that so far? Okay, let's move on. Now this beadboard will work just about any situation you're going to need it for. The colors, I have all the new updated colors, and I tried to label them the same way that the Legacy flyer has them labeled, so that everybody's on the same page. Now bear in mind though that some of these colors are not available in every style. So you will have to make sure that, I mean, you can apply anything you want in Chief, but just because you can apply it does not necessarily mean it's available. Okay? I'm pretty sure everybody, well, maybe everybody doesn't know, but to apply a style of door, you need to click on the style, and I'm going to double click so it closes my browser window down, then apply it to the doors. Okay, you want to apply all your door styles first, and I'm not going to do them all. Then you can apply your color. So I was doing Cherry Spice. We'll double click on the Cherry Spice, make sure we have R checked for room, which will do everything in the room, and there's our cabinet styles. Okay, I'm getting an error message that says we may have network difficulties. Hopefully everybody can still hear me and see me. But I'm going to move on. Next library item. End panels. End panels are pretty self-explanatory. We'll just bring those in the same way we do a cabinet. Let me swap views here though, and we'll get to our floor plan view, and I'll bring in an end panel for the end of the cabinet. We'll just bring it in. I'm actually going to remove the panel from this. We'll just say auto finish. Excuse me. And we can rotate wherever this triangle is pointing. That is the front of the face of the cabinet. So obviously I want to rotate it around this way, since I know this will be the face. Then we can just bump it against there and bump it against the wall. Swap views, and obviously we would have to change the style, and the color we can use the material dropper, pick it up here and apply it there. Okay, so end panels are pretty straightforward. I have the new decorative hearths that we offer with the microwaves in. Entertainment cabinets. These are all part of the original. I have most of our entertainment centers, not all of them. I also started adding islands. This particular one was in the Harvest Gold Show House. This particular one was in the York Show House. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, I want that island that was in the York Show, well, there you go. You can just click on this, and don't have enough room to place it there, so I'll rotate around a little bit, and let's try to put it in again. You can see there is the island that was in the York Show House. And you can see this also has beadboard, so if you wanted to apply the beadboard to that material, you could. Same with here on the ends, and I did the exact same thing here that I did here. Okay, so to apply it, all you need to do is select it, and you need to you need to explode the architectural block. Now it becomes all individual components that you can apply colors to and whatnot. Styles we went over, and we just have the different tall cabinets. I created different categories here. Now we have one for bath, we have one for the closets. So if maybe you're not familiar with what the call-outs are, at least you'll know where it's intended to go, so that may help. Okay. Now back to the kitchen again, and the backsplashes and countertops. This is something, if you want to show the decorative tile insert that we offer. There's a couple ways to, there's actually two ways to do this. One, we can just pick on the color that we want. Let's say we want the slate blue. I'll double click it to close the browser window. I have to make sure I have components selected. If I leave room selected, it'll do the entire countertop. I just want the backsplash. So I have to click component, and I'll have to go around and select every cabinet. Even the end panel has its own little countertop, okay? Now this works fine and dandy if you want every single tile to have that decorative inlay, which probably you don't want. You can also see that it cut it off a little bit. These particular inlay tiles are 6-inch tiles, and these cabinets have 4-inch backsplash. So if we double click on our base cabinet and go to base cabinet defaults, under the backsplash we can say 6. Say done, and then every base cabinet that's in your plan should change the backsplash to 6. Let's say we want to have, we only want a decorative tile maybe every third or fourth tile. Well, there's no real easy way to do that by just applying material. Unfortunately, we have to do it manually. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to select my first cabinet, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to select all my base cabinets. And make sure I get my end panel. I'm going to open these up, and under the backsplash, I'm going to put in 0. And you have to make sure you get rid of the D, otherwise it'll bring the default back. Basically what I did there is I just took the backsplashes off of all the cabinets. So let's go back to the floor plan view, and I'm going to use my backlit cross section. Actually, I can use my wall elevation. What that'll do is that gives me an elevation of the cabinets. Now we have to do some manual inserting. So that was the Lakeshore blend. This is the actual material. For the symbols, these are actual what they say, symbols. So if I double click on this one, you can see it brings in an actual 6x6 tile that I can move around. And I'm going to pull it out of the way for right now. I'm going to bring in a blank one now, and that'll give me my every third tile or every fourth tile, however you want it to lay out. So I'm just bumping it down against the cabinet, and now I bump it against the wall. Now I can just say copy. I'll pull it away, make sure I pull it away from the tile, and now we'll bump it back against. Now we can grab this one and bump it against. Let's go to our camera view, and you can see I have my tile, but these two materials are concrete. That is what the third one is for, tile colors. We want slate blue, and there is slate blue plain tiles, slate blue decorative inlay tile. If we wanted to repeat this process the whole way down, what I can do now is I can't put a window around to select them. What I can do though is I can select this one, hold shift, and select the other two. I can now copy, and instead of clicking, I'm going to grab this center square and drag everything to the left, making sure I go past. I'll grab this and bump it back against. Now I still have these three groups selected, so I'll just repeat it. Copy, drag it to the left, and bump it back against. Kind of like putting a puzzle together. If you wanted tile like maybe above a range, you would do this, follow the same process. Copy, move this one up, and then get whatever pattern you wanted. Okay, so let's go back to the camera view, and you can see I won't do the whole kitchen, just due to time, but that's how you can do your decorative inlay tiles. Any questions on that? Okay, so that covers the glass tile inserts. We have the actual material that you can apply to the backsplash. We have the actual symbol that you can bring in and apply, and then the actual tile colors. Now, here is the what I was talking about earlier, where I found my mistake. I had this folder copied into this folder, so these two materials were identical. You might say, well, 6-inch backsplash is 6-inch backsplash. What's the big deal? Well, the difference is, and I'll demonstrate right here now. I'm just going to type in D to get my default back. Say OK. There's my default tile backsplash again. This particular 6-inch tile, if we apply it, you can see it's the material I want. But you can see it has a little white grout line up there. Well, you're going to have a grout line there. So what I do is I had to create a slightly different version of that material, which this one says backsplash. And if you can see in the preview, this has your grout on two sides. This one has your grout on one side. So this particular tile is going to make the backsplash. It's going to look the same with the exception of your little grout line on the top. And I get over here, you'll be able to see it a little better. See, there's no grout line there. See the difference? Okay, so that's the difference between the two. So that is now fixed. But again, let me take the one off the website there now, and I'll upload it to the website. So by the end of the day or tomorrow morning, you should be able to download the latest and greatest. Okay, so let's move on. Applying the countertop materials. Here's all the coring we have, all the different laminates. They're all straightforward as far as applying them. If you do want to apply one, double click on it, and it's the same way we applied the material to the counter or to the overheads. Make sure we have room selected. Select the countertop, and everything in that room that matches that material, it will change. Okay. The next one is doors. I'm not going to cover doors and windows a whole lot, just for the fact that they're fairly straightforward. If you want a door in, you come to door, and maybe you don't want a 3.0 door, maybe you want a 2.8 door. You just open it up and you just change the size. The only difference being is if you see here, there's one door that's missing, and that would be a square door. I like to use this one out. It's a manufacturer catalog, and you can download that from on the website just by clicking on this icon here. Unfortunately, it's not giving me a preview, but it should say get online content or something. I think it says when the little text pops up, but you just click on this and it'll take you to Chief's website. You can go to the manufacturer catalog, and as long as your SSA is current, this is why I really highly recommend that everybody, if you're going to use Chief all the time, keeping your license up to date is a no-brainer. It costs $200 a year. You get any new versions, any new updates. If Chief comes out with X5 next month, you'll get it. As long as your SSA is current. It only costs you $200 a year per license. But you also have all this bonus material. And I went to this one here, doors and windows. Actually, I have them all downloaded, but you don't need to download them all. I actually found this one in the Simpson Door Company. So you would click on here, log in to download. Then once you're logged in, there will be a download button here. or a little checkbox. You check the box, and you can download more than one at a time. Then you just click on Download Select Catalogs, and it'll automatically put it in the library here for you. You can see I have quite a few of them downloaded. Okay, but you don't have to do anything yourself. You just have to click on Yes, Next, or OK, and it'll install it for you by itself. Having said that, I found this square one here in the Simpson door catalog, the Arlington Court. This is pretty much the closest thing I can find to our square door, pretty much the closest thing I can find to it. So if you want a square door, just click on this one, download that library, click on it, and you can see that's pretty close to what the one we offer. This caning might be a little different, but it's pretty close. Getting back to the Ritz-Craft library, though, under doors, I do have side lights. I have half and full. Let's say with this particular one, they want a full side light. Well, this is showing me clear glass. Back to the library, I added the materials here. I can add the caning to this glass. Make sure I have component selected, and just pick the glass, and there I added my caning to it. Okay. So also back in floor plan view, if I was going to make this a side light, what I generally do is I like to pull this so it doesn't look like it's a door. Just pull it closed. Hold Shift, select the other one. So basically you want to pick either the door or the side light, hold Shift, select the door, and click on Make Mold Unit. And if you want to see the proper text, we can double click on the door. It's now one piece, it's now one unit. Under the label, specify label, we can say 3068, and it's a single side light. That's how you can change the text. Okay, so windows and doors are all pretty straightforward. I have all our common doors. And windows, I don't have all our windows, obviously. Like you don't see a plain 2852, you don't see a plain 3046. Excuse me, that's because if you click on a window, bring it in, this particular one is already a 3646. Maybe we want a 2852. So I'll just change that to 3. It's a 2'8", which is 32. 52 is 62 inches, which is 5'2". Say OK. And there's my 2852. So for me to add every single light or window possible, it would just be unrealistic, and the library file size would be so large that I just put ones that you might have trouble putting together, like these palladiums. Maybe some people wouldn't know how to do that, so I put those in there for you. Okay. Now let's move on. I want to make sure I get to the materials and millwork. Fireplaces. I added all our new fireplace options that we have: the Kenwood, the Roseville, Yorktown, and Bridgeport. And there again, we want to bring a fireplace in. You just double click on it, closes the browser down, place it in your plan. We'll rotate our camera around. Oops, the wrong way. Now I didn't make these a separate material for a reason. Maybe somebody wants a white mantle or an oak mantle and they want white trim. So this way you can change it to whatever color you want. I'll just go ahead and pick up the bone trim, and we'll make sure we uncheck the roller. And you can see you can change the trim. It's pretty versatile. Also, I have the colors in here for the different surrounds that we have available. Let's just pick this one, and you can change the actual surround, and the hearth, you can change that as well. So there's the fireplaces. They're all pretty straightforward. Fixture colors, I have our different bath fixture colors. I also have our different kitchen, black, stainless, and white. Now the reason there's two stainlesses, this stainless looks better in just a regular camera view. This stainless works better if you do ray tracing at all. I find this one, when you try to ray trace it, a lot of times will come out black. This particular material, I found that one. I found it and used it, and it works pretty good for ray tracing. Flooring, we apply that the same way the cabinets. I'm not going to go over all how to apply materials. That's a different class. I just want to go over how to bring in different items, how to use the items in the library. Here's our different interior trim finishes. Somebody wants fruitwood stain trim. Okay, you can apply that. Materials, I have a couple different pictures here. Fireplace logs, or you can put a football game on the TV, or you can put a dog picture on maybe you can use a mirror and use it look as a painting. I have different porch framings, materials. Okay, this is what I want to get into more: millwork and moldings. Okay, this countertop molding. If I click on this and try to apply it, it doesn't really do anything. So you might say, well, how do I use that? Okay, this is why I'm having this class. Let's go to the floor plan, and let's say in the kitchen here, I'm going to get rid of this end panel so I don't have to keep trying to select it all the time, just because it's so small. So I'll pick the base, hold shift, and select the rest of the base cabinets. And there we go. Let's say I want a bullnose edge. Oops. I did that wrong. I have to open up the cabinets. And under moldings, we'll go to Add New, User Catalog, X4 Library, Ritz-Craft Moldings, and Countertop Edgings, and we'll say bullnose. Say OK, OK, and let's see if I can get this camera. There we go. There is our bullnose edging applied to our countertop. Okay, all these are work the same way, with the exception of, I'll go to moldings, and I'm going to delete this one, with the exception of the beveled one. Or I'm sorry, the ribbon. The ribbon has two separate parts. It has a top and a bottom. And that's because generally the bottom is the countertop material and the top is generally the cabinet material. So we have to apply these in two separate pieces. So I'll go ahead and apply the top. Say OK. I'm going to leave it, the height and the width I'm going to leave the same, and I'm going to leave the top where it is. So it's at the top of the countertop. I can go to Add New again. This time I'll select the bottom, say OK. And if I leave this go the way it is, you can see they're both on top of one another. Okay, you don't see the beveled part on the top. What you have to do is lower the bottom. And there's no way I can do that by default. You have to manually do it yourself, which is why I'm showing you this. I know that my top is 3/8 of an inch high. So if I pull my molding tab down, go to the bottom one, on the vertical, if I say minus 3/8, oops, not 3 inches, say OK. Oh, and I went the wrong way. You don't want to put the minus in. I want it to be offset 3/8 down. There, you can see how it lowered it. Now, if we use our eyedropper, pick up the cabinet or the countertop material, make sure I have a component selected, and just go around and select it. There you can see our ribbon effect. I can also pick up my cabinet, and down here in the bottom, it tells me what I'm going to apply, what I'm applying, and what am I applying to. See, there you can say I'm applying cherry spice to drywall. There it's cherry spice to the countertop. Well, if I come down here, and there it says cherry spice to birch honey, which was that wood trim. Okay, so that's how you apply that particular edging. I have a question here. It says I downloaded the Ritz-Craft X4, but it doesn't have kitchen hearths. They should be in there. If not, that's I'll definitely need to know that. That's something I'll have to look into. That should be part of the library. I don't know why it wouldn't. If you download it tomorrow, take the one you have tomorrow, move it into your trash, and re-download it. And if you still have that, email me so I can look into it. Email or call me, either or, so I can look in to see why that would be happening. Okay, next, crown molding, chair rail, crown molding, all work pretty much the same. If you want to put crown molding on a overhead cabinet, say you took them off and you want to put them back on, you can do all the overheads at once by group selecting them. But you go to the moldings tab, add new, and you need to offset it up about 1 3/4 inches. And what that'll do is it raises it up so it's not over top of the door. And this is pretty much as close as I get to being how it's actually built. Let's say we want to put tray ceiling or cove molding in the room itself. Okay, we have a room here, and maybe I want a tray ceiling or I want cove molding. Well, if we want cove molding, there's a couple different ways to do it. We can open up the room. Under Moldings tab, you can see there's our base molding. We can come in here and add it in here. The way I like to do it, though, is I like to come down here and say make room polyline. And what this does, all it does is it puts polyline around the room. Now I can do several things with this. On the Convert Polyline tab, I can convert that to a lot of things, but what I want to do is I want to convert it to a molding polyline. We'll say OK, and it's going to bring up the polyline specification. Under the Moldings tab, I can say Add New, and let's say I want let's say I want tray ceiling. We'll go ahead and do the 6-inch angled. Now we'll do the 6-inch. We'll do the 6-inch square. That way I can show you how to add cove molding on the inside of that if you want. So we'll click on that. Say OK. And all we need to do now is we need to specify the ceiling height. So I know this is 8-foot ceilings. So I'm going to say 96 5/8, and you have to make sure you put it in the drywall, and we want it to be to the top, 96 5/8 to the top of the tray. Say OK, and there is our 6-inch tray ceiling. Let's say we want cove molding around the inside of the tray. Well, we can select our room again. Make molding polyline. We can convert it to polyline. Convert it to a molding molding polyline. Want to add new. User library, X4, crown molding, and we'll make it to wide. Even if it says cabinet, it's pretty similar to the same stuff we'll use on the wall. Say OK, and again I want this to the top. And I want it at 96 5/8. Now, there's one thing that we need to do. If we look at this, we don't see it. That's because it's against the wall. So, a nifty little tool is this one right here. And if you don't have this particular toolbar up, if you go to Preferences, under Edit Behaviors, this is it right here. You can say concentric, and let's have it jump 12 inches. Now, whenever you have to grab the corner of it, you can't grab the side. If you grab the corner of this and move it, see how it jumps every 12 inches? It's exactly what we want to do because we know that tray is 12 inches wide. The only thing you have to remember is once you're done with this, you need to go back to default, and you can do it either here or in preferences. Say OK, and there's our Cove molding on the inside of our tray. If we wanted it to be here against the wall, but here, we would have left it. I'll go ahead and undo that. We would have left it there. We would just change the height from 96 to 90 because we know this 6-inch tray is 6 inches high. And I didn't do it. Let's try it. Oops, you did the wrong one. There we go. Let's try this again. Convert to polyline. Molding polyline. Add new. Library. Crown molding. Wide. And under the height we'll say 90 5/8. And we want it to the top. And I moved the wrong one. Oh, I know what I did. I moved the wrong one. 96 5/8. There we go. Okay. Any questions on how to use the the moldings and whatnot? Now this works the same for. Let me swap views here. This works the same for the other item in here is chair rail. Works the same for that. Click on this. Excuse me. Make polyline, molding polyline, and add new. Go to chair rail. Say OK. We want it to the top. And this one, let's just say it's at 36. Okay, there's our chair rail. Now, what if we have a doorway? What if we have a doorway here, and this doorway, particular doorway, I'll get rid of the casing, and let's say this particular doorway is flush with the ceiling. Well, more than likely, if there's no tray, if there's just, let me back my camera up here. Obviously, you don't want that molding going across those door openings there. Maybe the tray ceiling, maybe you do, probably you do, but the Cove molding and the chair rail, you're not going to want it to do that. Well, how do you fix that? Well, let's go back to the floor plan. And I'm going to get rid of 2 of these, so I'm just working with 1, so I don't get confused here. The way we can do this is we'll select it. Now I got the doorway, so I'll hit Tab. Now I have the molding polyline. What I want to do on this, my break line, if I double click on it, come in here and select it, now I can adjust this polyline. See how it actually broke it in half, or it split it? I can now grab this and drag it down to the door, and drag that one to the door. Now we have our polyline that's broke, and our chair rail does not go through the door. Okay, it'll work with the tray. It works the same with the tray or the Cove, but you have to make sure that when you have it selected, you have to make sure you double click this. If you just single click it, it doesn't actually, it breaks it, but it doesn't actually break it that you can make two separate pieces out of it. Okay? Any questions? I have one here. Can you show me how to do a corner post on the exterior siding? It's not really related, but that's okay. Those are fairly simple. You just go to the trim tools, and you want they're called corner boards. Just click on that and click on the exterior corner, and that should put it on for you. Now, if you have a two-story, you have to do it on the first and second floor. If you have a dormer, you want to put it on the dormer. It's the same procedure. Okay, moving on. That was our moldings. Let's go to millwork. This is all brand new. I have our arches in here. Now, you just have to be aware that the 6-inch round is 4 on top of like a half wall. Let's say, just go ahead and throw a quick half wall in here. And I'm going to do a back clip. And we'll pull the wall down. Let's say 43. And let's put an opening in it. And we'll get rid of the casing. And we could also say under the label, we can change the label to say elliptical arch or whatever we want. If I could spell. Okay. We can open it up, maybe make it 72. Centered in the room. Now the 6-inch one needs to be going on a 2x8 wall. So let's open up this wall, and under wall types, we'll say interior 8. Okay. So now we can grab this, and I'm going to hold Control. I'm going to drag it so it goes just over top of the wall a little bit. I can now use my center tool to center it on the wall. And I know my door center is centered, so I can center it in the room, so I can just center that in the room also. Now if we do a camera view of this, you can see I'd have to close up the opening a little bit and fill in the tray. If this was normally you have a full wall on this part also. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that. We have to select this wall. We'll use our break wall or break command, and then we can just drag this up so that it's full height again. Drag it over. We'll break this one also. And obviously, I'm not sizing everything, but these can all be resized to whatever size you happen to want your opening to be. And you can see there's a little gap between the top or the bottom of the post and the top of the wall. And it's because generally there'll be a wood cap there. So what we would do in that case is we can either use a custom countertop, or we can draw a rectangle polyline on this. We'll select it. We'll say convert, and we'll just convert it to a countertop. That's fine. And on the height, we'll say 44.5. I'll double click on my concentric tool again, and I want to offset it 1 inch. This is really useful. Sometimes it wants to place a second object in. So I'll go ahead and get in select mode, try to pick this, hit tab. There we go. Now I got the countertop. Now if I grab this corner, there it gives me a 1 inch offset all the way around. Pretty neat. And then we just need to size it. And a lot of times it's easier to do this in camera view. Obviously this opening would be a little smaller, but hopefully you get the idea. Okay, so there is how you use the use my eyedropper, pick up the molding material and apply it to there. Okay. There's also the full height ones. Now I have a narrow one for a narrow opening and a wider one. And this works pretty much the same way. The only difference is you don't have to go through all that cutting the wall, breaking the wall, changing the height, because more than likely this is going to go in between two openings. And the reason I created a shorter one, because you can take this and resize it, but when you try to resize it too small, it makes it look a little goofy. So I created a smaller one. And this particular column needs to go in a 2x10 wall. So you would do the same as you did here. You'd have your wall. Open it up, and we'll change the wall type to, I don't have an interior 10. We can say interior 8 and define it. Make a copy of it so we don't change that one. Say 10. I'll get rid of the copy of. Change this to 9 1/4. And I usually click on the fill color. I try to change the color just slightly a little bit so I know it's a different wall. Say OK. Now I just created another wall type, which is kind of nice to know. Let's say we want we'll put a doorway in this. We'll make the doorway go to the ceiling. And let's say it's an 8-foot opening. Go to casing, suppress the casing, and I'm just going to suppress the label this time. Maybe I don't want to see any label. Excuse me. We'll drag this so it's just over, not quite over centered. We use our centering tool. Now it's centered on the wall and centered on the doorway. And we'll probably have to change, we'll have to either change the size of the doorway or change the size of the pass-through. Okay? So, pretty useful little tool there. Beats trying to draw everything out by scratch and bringing the columns in and all that. Okay, so any questions on that? Here is those individual columns. Maybe you don't want a arch. Maybe you just want to show the column. You can just bring the column in itself. These are also useful. Okay, there's a column by itself. These are also useful for on the porch. Now these two ones here, we have a full column and a half column. And I'm going to close this down just to bring up a fresh drawing. Let's say we have, here's our front door. And I'm going to change the swing. Let's say we have a half wall. We want a half wall with columns. Okay, we'll use our backlit cross section again. I'll drag this down to 43 inches, which is our raised bar height, our half wall height that with the column. Now I can bring in, I just want a half column at the wall, and I want a full column at the end. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to have to hold my control down to get it over top of the wall. I can now use my centering tool the way I did with the other columns, and now I can just bump it against. I'm going to take this, I'm going to hold my control down, drag it over, and we'll center it on. Take a look at this. There is our half wall with columns. Now you can see I would either need to shorten this wall just a little bit to get rid of that, or length, or stretch the column out. For my wood cap, I do this, follow the same procedure I did with the other one. We'll grab our rectangle tool. It's going to put it over the entire wall. We'll use our offset. Make sure it's set to 1. That'll give us that'll make it jump 1 inches and 1 inch increments. That. We'll go back to our default. We can bump this against the wall, and we can pull this back just a little bit, just so it doesn't stick through the column. And I have to remember to take that polyline and convert it to a countertop, say 44.5, because I know if our wall height is at 43, our countertop thickness is 1.5 inches, so 43 and 1.5 inches is 44.5, and then we'll just apply the material. So there's our half wall with columns at a front entry doorway. Okay. Lastly, we have actually these, pretty much this column and this column. You can use this one inside. That's our 8-inch Tuscan column, but you can also use these in a porch application. Let's say I'm going to use my deck tool. We'll just make this a quick porch. And we'll say porch, and we'll say height is -4. Now, if I didn't want railing, I'm going to select each wall, hold shift, open them up, and on the general tab I'll make these invisible so I don't see them. I can now go to my library. I can insert my post. I also want to make this gable. Let's get a roof over this thing so we can see what's going on. I'm going to check ceiling, which automatically checks roof. I'll say use soft surface for ceiling, and I'm going to regenerate my roof. Double click on the roof tool, build roof, say OK. Now before I make a copy of that post or bring more posts in, I want to make sure it's at the right height. Well, I know I lowered my porch 4 inches, so I want to double click on the post, open it up. We'll say -4. That'll get it sitting on the porch, and then all I need to do is drag it up to the top. Okay, so we know we have the height and everything good. So let's bump it against this side, bump against the front. Now, if I want 4 posts across the front, here's a neat tool. Instead of trying to copy 4 times, we can say, let's copy, let's multiple copy. And let's open up this interval tool so that we can set the intervals. We can say we want as many copies as I want, space. This would space it 4¼ inches apart. Or we can say, I only want X amount of copies, and I'll let you know how far I want to space it. So if we want 4 posts total, I want 3 copies. Let's say I want 5 posts. We'll change it to 4. We'll say OK. Now we're still in copy mode. You can see how my cursor changes once I hover over the item I'm copying. See how it changes to a multiple copy symbol? All I need to do is pick it and drag it to the left, and I can eyeball it and get it real close. And there's my 4 copies, my 5 posts that are evenly spaced. Okay? Excuse me. Any questions so far? You know, I know I'm rushing a little bit. I'm trying to get all this in, and I know I'm already over the hour time limit. I try to keep things to an hour, but the rest of these things, roof material, we know how to. We should all know how to apply materials. If not, I do have a materials class that I do, and if you don't want to wait till the next material class, just email Sean and ask him to send you a copy, a CD of the latest materials training, because we record all these, so you can view that. This is also something new I added, our wood shelves. It's all pretty self-explanatory. Let's say we had this is a bedroom, and here's our closet. Make it 24. Now normally these wood shelves, normally they only put them in the master bedroom closet. So let me go ahead and make this like it would be an L-shaped closet. Let's say here's our door. And I know this layout isn't very good, but let's say we had a 6'5" by, we'll give it some off-wall dimensions. Nope, that wouldn't be big enough. Okay. What I need to do is I need to know my closet size so I can bring in the right size shelf. If I know the closet width, that's 6'5". So if I go to my library, I would either bring in the 6 foot or the 7 foot, depending on, and either stretch it out or shrink it down. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. The next one is I just use my tape measure to measure this, so I know how far it is from there to there, and that happens to be 4'9", 4'10". So we'll bring in our 5 foot one, and it might not let you put it here because it's probably bigger than it will allow. So you might have to put it outside the closet. Excuse me. We'll use our pyramid to rotate it, and we'll just hold our control down as we're moving it. Get it inside the closet at the start. Bump it against the marriage wall. Bump it against the exterior wall. Now we can grab this square handle and resize it to the size we need. And so there is our ventilated wood shelves in our master bedroom closet. Okay? Now I also have these vertical supports. If you want to do a whole, some of our master bedroom closets have shelving. Yeah, let's bring that one back. I shouldn't have got rid of that. Bring that back in. Actually, I want the 2 foot shelf. Let's say you're trying to design like the shoe racks and stuff that we have. There's our 2 foot one. Bump that against. Then we can bump our vertical support against this. I'll just I'm going to delete this. Make a copy of this one. Bring it against. Select our vertical support. Make a copy. Now let's say one of these, this middle one maybe was going to be a, it's going to have multiple shelves. Let me pull this down so everything fits. Bump that against. We'll do a backlit cross section. Say this middle one again is going to have multiple shelves. I can just sit here and make copies and pull everything down, or I can also go to transform replicate. I want to make copies. Let's say I want 3 shelves, and that's going to give me 3 copies. But what it's going to do is that'll give me 3 copies all on top of one another. I can select this copy and move at the same time, and I know my X is right to left, my Y is back to front, which you can't see in the 3D view, and the Z is up and down, which is obviously in the side view we can see this. So let's just say I want them 2 feet apart. We'll make 3 copies, 2 feet apart, and what did I do wrong? Let's try this again. Multiple copies, 3, 24 inches apart. Oh, I'm sorry. It made me 3 copies, but it put them at 24 inches up and down. I forgot to, we'll go to 3 copies. I have to say minus 24, so they go down. So I mean, this is good that you see this. I mean, this will this obviously could happen to you when you're trying to learn it. Now, obviously, 24 inches was too tall because my third set of shelves is in the floor. So I'd probably want to undo that. Select my vertical shelf again, or my horizontal shelf again, and instead of saying 24, let's try 12. And I did it again. We have to say 3 copies and minus 12. Excuse me. Okay, and if that's too close apart, you can actually move them here in 3D in your cross-section view, I should say. Okay, so that's our wood shelving and how to build a custom master bedroom closet if you would like with those. Shutter and trim, these are just colors. We have different colored louvers, louvered shutters, and our paneled shutters. I also added this one for a clay beige trim, which is like the corner post, window trims, soffit. A lot of people like the clay beige trim, so there you can show that now. And the rest are just colors, basically. You have siding and tubs and showers. I tried to, now again, not every single one is going to be in here, and some of the ones that are even in the Chief library are not very good representations of what you may actually be buying. So if you're trying to show a customer the right tub, you just have to explain to them, okay, this is, you know, Chief is a very powerful tool, but it is limited in some ways. And then I have our 3 new utility packages, the gold stack, side by side, and the silver. And to bring those in, these are just basically, these are basically blocks that you can bring into your plan. Once you have them in your plan, actually what I like to do is keep it away from the wall, because you can see that sometimes it has a border. It won't go against the wall tight. So we'll bring it in, we'll explode it. Now it's individual components. Now we can put a window around it and group select it and grab the center square, and it's fighting with me. It's this particular countertop surface that I'm working on with my mouse. Bump it against that wall and bump it against that wall. Okay, that way we know for sure that everything's tight against each walls. Okay, but there's our utility package, and that just happens to be the silver. And you can apply whatever material just as in the countertop, or just as in the kitchen, if you want a different countertop color, different cabinet color, whatever the case may be. Okay, so that's the new Ritz-Craft library with all the updated colors, at least for Pennsylvania. Don't fret, Michigan and Carolina. Yours is coming. Are there any questions at all what I covered today? Hopefully I gave you some real-world help. I know my training sessions I go through and I say this is how Chief works, this is how you do this and do that, but hopefully today was some little more something that you would actually be used day to day. All right, well, again, anybody that wants a copy of today's lesson, please email Sean Reedy, and he will get them burnt and mailed to you. If there's no questions, then you all have a good day, and thanks for attending another session of Chief Architect Training.